This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 431 of the Dressage Radio Show, monthly Western edition, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and Total Saddle Fit. Hi everyone, Coach Jen here. Tim and Karen are on the road this week, so sit back and enjoy this behind-the-scenes chat with Lynn Palm and the whole crew over at Fox Grove Farm, which was originally aired in 2016 on the Horses in the Morning show. Reese and Phillip will be back next week with more news, guests, and tips for all things dressage.
I am Glenn the Geek from Ocala, Florida, and we have a very cool show that we recorded for you. This is a joint production of Horses in the Morning and our friend Wayne Williams of Speaking of Horses. We got together last week on the porch of Lynn Palm's beautiful Fox Grove Farm here in Ocala, Florida, and had a chat with Lynn Palm and several others that we think you are going to enjoy. Thank you to Wayne Williams for putting this together. You can see the video version of this at speakingofhorses.com.
Hey, welcome to this joint broadcast between Horses in the Morning Radio and Speaking of Horses TV. Well, we're glad to have you join us for this show, and obviously this is on Speaking of Horses TV, and it's on Horses in the Morning Radio. And Glenn is sitting right here. Glenn the Geek, as they call you.
That's right. And any time I ever see you is when you come down to visit me here in Ocala, and we do a show together.
Twice now, right?
I know. I think I owe you one.
Yeah, we have to get you to Wisconsin, and I'm thinking January 5th.
Yeah, that's not happening. You better have a lot of cheese.
However, we're happy to be doing this, and we have a great opportunity here. We are in Ocala, Florida. And we are at Palm Partnership Training. And obviously that is Fox Grove Farm. And it's Lynn Palm's facility here. Lynn and her husband, Cyril.
Beautiful farm here in Ocala.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we first of all, we thank you guys very much for your hospitality. And
You're very welcome.
We're having a great time here. So well, we're just glad to have him join us on the show.
Yeah, and you know what? I've been here a few times. My wife has shown here before, and what a facility this is for that, too. We'll get into that later, but it's such a great place to come over. And one of the things I like about your facility, I'm going to compliment you right off the top. I'm going to get brownie points right here.
Ahead.
All right.
We love it.
Is how relaxed everything is here. There's no stress. You know, you can tell a barn, or we've been in a lot of them, and you can tell between Wayne and I, we've seen thousands of barns and farms. And we always say when you walk in a barn, you can tell the attitude of the people who are there immediately. You know,
Yep.
You walk in, you can tell if it's a stressful barn, if it's a laid back barn, if it's an I don't care about anything barn. You just know right away the aura, right? Yep. And this place just has such a good aura. Really does.
Yeah, especially when it's Lynn and I together in the barn sometime in the morning.
Then it's a little crazy. But
then the aura might be a little bit different.
Husband and wife at each other.
That's why she travels so much, isn't it?
A little bit different.
Yeah, I understand that. That's like when I'm home for a couple, 3 days, and Pat says, "Man, when are you going to back off on some of this traveling?"
Right.
And then 3 days later, she says,
When's your
"Don't
next
you have
trip?"
somewhere to go?"
Good point.
Well, thank
good
you
point.
so much. But that's why we have this facility. We welcome people, equestrians, and the best part of it all, we really attract people who have a passion with horses, as Cyril and I do. So that's what really makes that atmosphere what you're saying. And it's really important for us that people enjoy it here. That's why we bought this place. That's why we built what is here. And it's for all good things with people who love horses.
But one of the things I liked, Wayne, is that it's also a lot of barns are for more advanced riders only, they're only dealing with advanced riders. You guys really are inclusive here.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, it's truly open to all levels riders. I mean, a few years ago, it started primarily as a training facility, training horses for competing. We were competing ourselves a lot. and it evolved into creating more of an equestrian center, multidiscipline equestrian center, absolutely open to all levels of riders. That's very important for us.
Well, and it is, and you can see that when Pat and I got in here yesterday, and Marie kindly gave us a kind of a tour of the grounds. It's just laid out beautiful. It's relaxed, and you can tell that depending on what you wanted to do, it's here for you.
But however, interestingly enough, our business has this challenge that often people say, "Oh, we're not good enough to come ride at Foxgrove Farm." And really, I mean,
That's not true.
Yeah, that's not true. I just want to take a little bit advantage of having this exposure to say to people that we truly have absolutely all levels of rider, from truly beginner to advanced.
Yep.
But, that says good things, though, in a way. If people do think that, it means that you've gotten yourself to a level where you're demanding that kind of respect, too. It may be false. It may be a false impression.
Right.
But it also says a lot about where you've come from and what you've achieved championship-wise and otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the people, as we said, that do come to ride with us. It doesn't matter what level. And
Yes.
why is because as an instructor, you get the same rewards if you're working with somebody that you can make smile that's a rank beginner or someone that's going to the world show. It doesn't matter. And it's the reward for us is really truly getting something accomplished with someone and their horse working together as a partnership and a team, and that the horse is doing it willingly. And basically it doesn't matter what level of rider.
And if I may add, it's not just only all level, but all breeds of horses.
Yeah.
I think we welcome everybody
Yep.
with any type of horses, any type of discipline, because we're really about trying to teach people correct horsemanship.
And part of what makes that all obvious is this spring, especially, I've been at 2 or 3 different horse expos where Lynn has been. Actually, the one in Tennessee is how this joint show all came about.
Mm-hmm.
But, Lynn is very open to going to not just the big expos, but if there's an expo, regardless of the size, that, wants to help people, you're into it.
Yeah,
You're there,
absolutely.
and that speaks volumes.
Yeah. And what I like about horse expos, it really proves to me how big the horse industry is, how many people are involved in the horse industry, whether it's a little or a small one. But again, coming back to the same common denominator, people that are there have a passion for horses and they want to do well with their horse ownership. So how can you not want to give back to people like that? So that's what really makes it fun on our part.
Well, okay, but I want to back up a little. Do you mind, Wayne?
Come
We're
on,
going to back the
it up.
horse up, back
All
the
right.
carriage up. How did you two meet?
That's an interesting
Right
question.
here in Ocala, Florida.
Really?
He came
Yeah.
from Paris and I came from the UP of Michigan to Ocala.
Just 6 miles from here at Carol Harris, the very famed horsewoman and owner
Breeder,
of Rugged Lark
yes.
and breeder.
Yeah.
And it happened that I was really, really interested in learning about the hunter discipline, which we don't have in Europe that much.
Well, what did you do in Europe?
I worked for 6 years as the head instructor at a very large equestrian center outside Paris.
Doing what discipline? Or a little bit of everything?
Not a little bit of everything, because in Europe, you basically ride in the 3 Olympic disciplines. So
Right.
I had to compete in 3, but I did primarily the jumper division. But I also created a school at the equestrian center to prepare young instructors for their first level of certification. Because in France, when you're a horse professional, everything you have to be certified. So I did that. But anyhow, to make a long story short, I was really, really interested to learn about the quarter horses, and especially the appendix, the English quarter horses, to try to import back in France as the perfect amateur horse.
And teaching horse.
Horse. So a friend of mine knew Carol. So can I go at Carol? And I worked for Carol for maybe 3-4 months. That's interesting for me. I come from a very, very formal background. I ended up in a round pen on a 2-year-old quarter horse with a Western saddle. So you want to talk about a culture shock?
It's like, okay, now what do I do?
What's this thing right
Yeah, what's this round pen thing?
Let's not go into that direction because it's a painful memory.
How hard is it to jump in this saddle?
But anyhow, after a few weeks, I'm standing here. Oh, this big time trainer is coming to the farm, and she's like this and she's like that and whatever. So Lynn comes in, and I learn a lot by watching. So one day when I was done with my horses, I see Lynn riding, and I go watch her, and I see this lady on this big horse with Western tack, and she looks great because coming from France, for me, Western riding was basically John Wayne in a Rio Bravo, and Western riding was not synonymous with good riding. And I see Lynn riding with this beautiful position, and I got very intrigued. And then, so that's how we started sharing things between professionals, and very quickly, just want to say the French charm operated.
So who was it?
Oh, yeah? Was it the French
Yeah, I want to
charm?
ask Lynn if that was true.
It helped. It helped.
It helped.
So who was love at first sight? Oh, neither one of you. Okay.
No, yeah, I have to say, and now let's be serious. One of the trait that I appreciate the most about Lynn as a professional is she's extremely open-minded. She didn't know me from Adam. And one day she was working this horse over fences, and she knew I had a little bit of experience over fences. And she said, would you help me? What do you think? Do you have any suggestions? I really love that about Lynn.
Right.
And it happened that at the time, Carol's were going through a difficult time, and she basically one day tell me, I don't need you anymore. You can go back to France. And Lynn was really gracious. Would you come with me in Michigan and keep learning about the quarter horses and everything? And I will never forget that because it was a pretty stressful time. And Lynn was great.
And then 2 years later, I didn't let him go back to France.
So it's a pretty cool story.
And how often are you in a Western saddle now?
You're asking for trouble.
With the young horses, for sure.
Yeah, no, seriously, with the young horses, I'm fairly tall. So if I have to ride really a young horse, often I will use the Western saddle. Also, if that young horse is a little bit spirited, I'm telling you, I discovered that the Western saddle can be a great tool to stay on the horse, believe me. So,
and things hurt more when you get older, don't they? When you fall, it just starts hurting
can't
more.
Do that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You can't.
You got to fall off less.
You don't bounce as much. You splat more.
Yeah. And that's why Lynn and I now we used to really specialize in a lot of young horses. We used to have a lot of young stallions. We don't do that anymore, obviously, because as you get older, and if anything happens to either of us, I mean, we need to run the business. We need to be able to continue to operate. So you have to be more careful or use a little bit more common sense as you get a little older.
Well, now that you're here in this facility, now when did you get this facility?
97?
Yeah, we bought it in 97.
97?
Yep. And it was a turnkey place. Oh my gosh. We were
Boy, you
very
couldn't tell
honored.
that now.
Well, yes, but we were
Put a
very
lot of work.
honored to buy it from a man who had terminal cancer. His name was Raymond Burr, not the actor, but a Hall of Fame USEF horseman.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So he did Hunter Jumper. That's where he made his name in the in that world. And then when he retired from that, he got into the racehorses here in Ocala. He pinhooked. He bred some
successful.
mares. He was very successful. And what a horseman. And we found out about this place through a friend. And we got to meet him, and we connected so well. He even let us come on the farm with our horses before we even had the place bought. Mm-hmm. So it was great because we gave him a little more inspiration about living, and it was great. So we did have a great opportunity with him. It was a third farm he had developed in the Ocala area, so he had a real knack for it. And then our main lodge that we have here, and another guest house, and where we do most of our entertainment and meals and so forth. We built that ourselves, and it took about a year.
And
And we're on that porch right now, actually.
Yes, we're on that porch.
Exactly.
And so we've been here since. Yeah. And we did put in a covered arena. Again,
2006.
we started to go less to Michigan, back to Michigan, which we still have our facility up there. But to stay here in the summertime, we were doing more of. So, of course, everybody
you need
wants
covered if you're going to work at all here in the summertime.
Exactly. And then what made it great for us is that when we do have our programs, if we have rain, it's okay. So we still have, the programs can go on. So it really makes it great for us.
Give people an idea. Now, we are located just north of Ocala, Florida here, is where the farm is. Not too far off the highway, actually. Give people an idea of the size of the facility you have here.
We're 38 acres here. We have 6 houses that we use for lodging people.
33 stalls.
Yep,
And people can come and
stalls.
rent if they're coming to Ocala?
Yes. Yep. We've got what's most popular is our resident program. We call it. That's in January, December through April are the 5 months that people just love to come here, spend the winter, bring their horses. The husbands usually are very good golfers, so it works great. The women does the horses or whatever, but they come and stay an extensive period of time. They ride with us. They lodge here. They keep their horses here. That's a very popular program. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place if you're going to come and stay, right?
And
you were here.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We have the use of the Fox's Den.
Fox Den. Yep. They're all got a fox
That's
name.
Appropriate
Fox
for you,
Grove.
Wayne.
It's very.
Was Mr. Burse?
The Silver Fox.
Yeah, that's.
There we go. We could name a barn the Silver Fox.
There you go.
We needed another fox name.
There you go.
That's it.
Name it after Wayne, the Silver Fox.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, well, I always tell them, even though there's snow on the roof, that doesn't mean the fire's out in the furnace, right?
I don't know. Your wife's here. Maybe we should ask her that. Huh?
Exactly. Yeah. So, Mr. Burr let us keep the farm name. So all our houses and everything's got a fox name. But we had 2 barns we wanted to rename.
How many barns are here?
We have 3.
3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And we have the main show barn, a smaller barn, and then we have a barn dedicated to the students that come.
So is most of the activity here the training, or is it training board, or is it students, or a little bit of everything?
It's really a lot of different options. I mean, we're extremely flexible. We have horses in training. We have horses in training with their owners and come in training. We have people that just take private lessons, or people that just here and don't ride with us and just want to use the facility and enjoy the weather.
It comes back to what you said at the start. It comes back to any level, anything you want to do.
Yes.
You can come down here to your facility and find, boarding, find lessons, find whatever you want. Yep. You are open to all of that at this facility.
Yep. Yes. And I like our different clinics that we also offer. And our most popular is our Ride Well clinic. And again, second most popular are the dressage clinics for those riding, of course, the classical English dressage. And now the fast-growing Western dressage is amazing. The interest and the growth in that in a short 3 years. It's in its 4th year this year. And from that, which we really didn't even intend to, but that's where we started doing the competitions because, you have 2 clientele in which we love both. It doesn't matter for us. We have the recreational rider and then we've got the competitor. Well, what we did for the recreational rider, which also is both a dual success there, is that we took 3.5 acres and we built a natural obstacle arena where people would encounter what they could encounter on a trail ride.
And it is probably, Wayne, one of the best ones in Florida.
We were looking at that
yesterday.
It's
the first one anywhere toward the Midwest and the East.
It's really great.
And I got the idea of it started in the Northwest. I was doing clinics in Washington State. And the Northwest is very popular because of trail riding. And it's amazing. First of all, it gives us such a great variety to train our horses, to do something outside of the ring, give them a variety in training. But it's the best thing to teach riders to be confident to go out and trail ride. But so for the recreational rider, it's been perfect there. But for the competitor, we started making a course, and the course is all you have to show good horsemanship.
Yes, it's not just the obstacle.
It's just not an obstacle.
It's not just an obstacle course.
Yeah. So that part we really like. And so it blends with the dressage together.
They have, in the Pacific Northwest, they have actually some huge competitions with this. I mean, They actually have,
They have mountain challenges.
Yeah, they've had a setup inside a building.
That's right.
Unbelievable when they have these
in
challenges.
Eugene, Oregon,
Yes.
National
Yeah.
Championship. But this is different because this type of competition, it's only at the walk, and those are pretty scary obstacles.
And it's geared toward mountain riding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Which what we do here is replicating conditions that you might encounter on a trail ride
In this part of the
in
country.
this part of the country. So it's not just going over an obstacle; it's also showing proper horsemanship.
But it's a course also that, once again, that novice rider can come and learn on.
Novice
Yes.
to
Right.
our elite. So we've
Right.
got 5 different divisions
and
now.
you're nice because you open it up every once in a while. Let us come in and school on it. We have. We've come over, my wife and I brought, and you can do in hand too. You don't have to ride because I have a
right.
driving pony. So we brought him over and played with him. It was so much fun.
Yep.
And you have the scariest bridge ever, apparently, because
16 foot high in the air. We've got one of 3, but yes.
Did Jennifer discover that?
yes, she did actually during the one competition. But it is fun. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then I want to come back and talk a little bit about what people might know you more for is the clinics around the country and the things you do. And I want to know why Palm Partnership Training is different than all the other that are out there right now.
We can sure do that. And we'll have to get Marie Francis involved a little bit too.
Okay, good.
All right.
Good.
Hi, Fiona Crawford here, and I'm an official Horse Radio Network auditor. I'm a horse photographer based in the UK, and when I'm editing my images, I listen to the vast selection of great programmes provided by the Horse Radio Network. Both informative and really entertaining, I think it's worth a few dollars or pounds of anyone's money. Just go to horseradionetwork.com and click on the banner, and for as little as $1 a month, you too could become an official Horse Radio Network auditor.
Well, we're back here on this joint show, and I'm here with Wayne
Absolutely.
Williams. It's so good to see you again.
It's good to be here, Glenn.
And of course, we're at Palm Partnership Training here in Ocala. And Lynn, there are so many clinicians out there now. You go to all of these expos and shows and you see them all, right? There's 1,000, it seems like, anymore. What makes, and you've been around for a while, but what makes Palm different? What makes your clinics, your training different?
Well, I think the first of all is that we do multidisciplines, and we also open to all breeds. So we'll have a drafty kind of horse or a gaited kind of horse, a quarter horse, a thoroughbred, a warm blood. It doesn't matter. And the multidiscipline is that we do hunt seat or hunters, jumper, which Cyril specializes with. We also do dressage, and we also do Western riding. And I think where it's really unique, where we can set ourselves apart again, is that we don't have our own methods that we teach, because we base our method of teaching on sound principles of dressage. So those dressage principles are the foundation and fundamental of any type of riding, any saddle, any breed of horse. And both Cyril and I, again, have our backgrounds of dressage as young riders. And I specialized with quarter horses through my career because I grew up around them, but I wanted to try everything. Well, today, as I did as a kid, I don't ride any different in a dressage saddle than I do in a Western saddle. And what I learned from that training is that, again, it's natural horsemanship, if you want to say it, or it's training the horse according to his natural instincts. But the main fundamentals that really relate to all of this is, in any sport, you have to have a correct position for balance. We have to have a way to communicate with the horses, and it's through the natural aids that we communicate: seat, legs, and hands. That's how we can do it naturally. And then it's our responsibility, and again, where we're unique, we improve the rider to improve the horse. We also don't fix horses. So it's our responsibility as a rider to control that horse's balance in what he's doing, whether he's jumping, running a barrel, doing a lead change or a canter depart, or lengthening his jog. It doesn't matter what it may be. So that's where it's unique. But I have to tell you a funny story with the expos, because I started a little more than a decade ago doing the expos, and we used the word dressage principles to back our training methods. And people would come up to me and say, "Oh, I can't ride dressage.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
too
want to do
hard."
dressage. Yeah,
Or, "I'm
yeah.
just a trail rider. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't do dressage." Or, "I ride Western. It's not dressage. Isn't for me." Well, now a decade or more later, people now are coming to me these expos we just did this year. Oh, I've been taking lessons from a dressage rider and I ride Western, or I do Western dressage with my gaited horse, or I ride classical dressage and Western with my own horse and do both disciplines.
Even the reiners now are doing fundamental dressage training first.
If you look at it, and I had a reiner and I had a dressage person both in the arena a while back at an expo. And they were comparing notes, and it's 99% the same.
There you go.
I mean, the cue point on the horse might be different, but it's reining and dressage are almost identical except for the attire and maybe where you cue the horse.
And that sliding stop thing. The dressage riders tend to not want to do that too much.
But I mean,
no, but it's the shoes that make them stop. The mechanics of how the horse should operate and stop and do that stop. It's all basically the same.
When we use the word dress or the words dressage principles, does not necessarily refer to the sport.
The sport of dressage, right?
Okay, that refer more to classical training and a series of principles and a progression.
The levels.
That were discovered a long time ago and are basically principles that, first of all, are humane.
Yes.
They're effective. And they really promote your horses to respond willingly and be happy, because this is what we're all about here at Palm Partnership Training with any breed or any type of riding. Is
bottom line.
Our ultimate goal is we want the horses to be willing in whatever we ask them to do. That's very, very important.
And isn't it the dressage really means training?
Yes,
right?
It's a French term that means training.
Term that means
absolutely,
training.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm. Right.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But like Glenn was saying, when we use the word dressage principle, people say, I don't ride dressage, so I can't come. That's why it's important to mention that dressage principle does not necessarily refer to the sport of dressage. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
Right.
Yeah. But again, it's a sound principle that's not our methods. It's methods that we learned with the good sound classical dressage, but again, it relates to good horsemanship in any
And it
discipline.
goes back thousands of years. It's not just hundreds of years. It really goes back thousands of years. Right.
Yeah. And you mentioned about the Western dressage. For me, I think it's the best thing that could happen for Western riders, because there isn't enough how would I say, good horsemanship methods and enough practiced with Western riding. And it gives people a guideline.
The fundamentals there.
Fundamentals, as I mentioned, but it gives a guideline of a progression. What's easier and what's harder in this sport? Our most common thing when someone comes to a clinic, they say, I want to learn flying lead changes. And I go, that's great. That's the hardest transition you can learn. I says, now I need to see how you do a Canada
the 10th clinic.
Exactly. How you can do a simple change of lead through the trot, through the walk. And they can't do any of those things, but yet they want to learn the hardest one. So it gives a guideline. Yes, you can learn that. If you do these principles first, then you can have success with the other.
Build to that
Absolutely.
point. Right.
Sure.
Yes.
But that's hard because that's human nature, right? We all want to get it done tomorrow,
That's good,
right?
But most of the time people don't know,
Right.
And I had
in the Western world.
And I think that's where one second, Wayne. I think that's where Western dressage really is bringing in a whole new group of people that we've never seen before. And I absolutely love Western dressage because, and to get back to when my wife, came over with her horse, who had never done a Western dressage show in his life, her quarter horse, and he did very well that day. Came in second, I think. But it brought her in. She would have never done that before. You know, she's a classical English dressage eventer for years. And she had so much fun doing that Western dressage show. She really did. Because the fundamentals are still the same.
Exactly the same.
Right.
Exactly the same. Yep. I just would like to go back quickly about what makes Palm Partnership Training a little bit different. Beside the fact that Lynn was saying that there's a slogan we use all the time is be the rider your horse deserves. So in all our programs, we really focus on improving the rider to improve the horse.
Yeah, that's where we're a little more different.
Because it's so easy for us as riders to say, oh, my horse was off today.
Oh, yeah.
Which usually means you were off
fix
today.
This about the horse and fix that.
Exactly.
Right.
So the more that you teach a rider how to understand the simple biomechanics of how a horse operates, his instincts, his personality and his temperament goes along with that in some way. But you also then teach them the skills they need to know to be able to achieve what they want to do with their horse. So again, improving the rider to improve the horse, it works all the time.
And there's a point there too where you may see your horse doing something. I had a gentleman say this one time. The horse is in the pasture doing something, and he wanted the horse to do it. he could never get the horse to do it when he wanted to.
Sure.
Okay. And he said it took him about 3 years to learn how to ask the horse.
There you go.
See,
Sure.
he had to learn how to ask. The horse could do it. He just didn't understand what you wanted. You had to learn the process.
This why the 30 days or the 60 days or the 90 days doesn't work.
Yeah,
Ultimately,
training.
it doesn't, because it takes some regular practice, because you have to establish with your horse. And that's why we chose the word partnership. Is of course a word that's used a lot, but it takes time to build partnership. It's not something that happens overnight.
Right.
The other thing I'd like to mention is that in all our programs, we teach our programs.
That's right. We don't have assistants
We don't
to
have
teach
assistants
or
doing it.
affiliates
Yes.
that we do have that are younger professionals, but that's probably one of the most common questions people ask. If I come to your program, does Lynn and Cyril teach? And of course we do. We do all the programs.
And we teach together, which is,
Yeah.
which is really a plus.
And they look still happy, Wayne.
Yes.
That's the other
I
thing.
know. I don't know what the deal is, you.
We are, it's the bottle.
You're
of
just-
it's the bottle
you're
of
just trying to
Beaujolais
stir up
before
trouble.
coming here.
I know you are.
Bottle of
Thank God for
Beaujolais.
Beaujolais. Yes. But yes, we teach together, so I think we make a good team. We complement each other real
do.
well, because
Yeah.
we have a pretty wide background.
That's a great thing, because there's nothing more demoralizing than, to pay to see or be involved with somebody.
Sure.
Big
And you
bucks.
get to see them
Sure.
for 5 minutes
Yeah.
in the walk by while
Sure.
you're having a soda break, and
Somebody
that's
else is
it.
teaching.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, that even the shows that you put on, you're there for the award ceremony,
yeah.
hugging everybody,
Oh, yeah.
and that
Oh,
means
yeah.
a lot.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And we don't see that all the time. We really don't.
Yeah.
Well, let's take another commercial break here. We're going to be right back here from this beautiful farm in Ocala
Absolutely.
in just a minute.
He was her first love, the one that started it all. He taught her how to master the posting trot and navigate her first hunter course. They spent hours together exploring the trails and hanging out in the barn. His name was doodled on every page in her school notebook. His coat gleamed in the sun as he met her at the gate each day, snuffling for a treat. From the first time she saw him poking his head out of the stall to the last time she patted him goodbye, he was, and always will be, her everything. This love story is brought to you by Nalox Advanced, providing complete support for a healthy digestive tract, which reduces the risk of colic and digestive upset. The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Call 859-873-2974 or visit kppusa.com to order today.
Hey, we're back. That's our joint simulcast, Horses in the Morning Radio with Glenn. And speaking of horses with Wayne Williams, we're glad to be here. And we are joined now by Karen Butler and by Marie Francis. And you guys are, student and office manager, farm manager. What's your
All
title?
around
What's your
manager, I'd
title,
say.
Marie?
I see her here all the time.
I don't know that I have one title. It could be anything from booking a clinic, cleaning stalls, feeding horses, puppy sitting, driving to horse fairs, horse expos, competitions.
Oh, so you
name it.
drive
I do a
and
little
she
bit of
sleeps,
everything.
right? Lynn sleeps.
Or Lynn, she's got to get her upgrade to first class. So she may be headed on the Delta flight.
Yeah, she might be staying in an airport checking that overhead to see if
That's
that
right.
name pops up. Right?
That's for sure.
But I see Marie at all of the expos that you guys are at. You're always running the booth, setting everything up, and you are a very worthy worker. I'll tell you,
Well,
you do a
thank
great
you.
job.
Thank
do a
you.
Great job.
How long have you been here?
I am going to celebrate a milestone of 20 years.
Really?
With Lynn and Cyril. Yes.
Wow.
20 years in May.
You
of
better
this
have a
year.
party. Nobody's ever worked for anybody 20 years in the horse world.
20 years. 20 years, yes.
That has never happened before.
You know,
I think she set a record.
In the position that Marie is in, I can tell you, I've seen other clinicians or trainers who have traveled to horse expos, and they have a brand new farm manager, road manager, whatever you wish to call them. And we all sit around and take bets. Will it go 6 months or a year?
Yeah.
And
it never does.
It never does.
It never does.
So it's really, that's a
a testament to you and to them.
everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
it really is. Were you a horse person? What did you do previous to this?
I grew up riding ponies in South Jersey. I was fortunate enough to meet Lynn. She came to do a clinic when I was in school in West Virginia at a small private school for an equine business degree. And I did an internship, believe it or not, 96, when Lynn and Cyril left me in Michigan to go to the Olympic Games with Rugged Lark. So that was my first real dive into, can you take care of the place on your own? And thankfully, I think I passed that test, and I was presented the opportunity to return after my last year.
Because the last thing you want to be worried about is your farm when you're at the Olympics.
Well,
yeah.
No. It was a huge undertaking, but very much worth it. Good experience for me. And at the time, I had only met Lynn. I didn't get to meet Cyril until I was in Michigan. So we spent some time together, and we got close after he learned that I could do a little jumping. Then we were close.
Also, you could come back with his French sense of humor.
Well, yes. Yeah, definitely. So that was my first. After my internship, I came back here full time, and it was the first year that Foxgrove Farm and Palm Partnership Training were together. So it was just a good turning point from there, changing their business from training and competing to education. And it was perfect for me because that was an interest that I had, and that's where we've really, I think, blossomed as a team.
And the things you've learned over the years, I mean, geez.
Lots of, started out as horse care and management, and now I work with people in our competitions and our clinics, both here and at different locations, as Wayne said, trade show booth. I've learned social media, internet, business management, accounting. I think I've drawn the line at braiding and having puppies. Those are the two things I'm not going to do. No puppies.
Well, though, the thing that does fit so well is, like you said, 20 years, and it becomes a mainstay that when Lynn is doing an expo, Lynn's at the expo, we know that you're going to be around. Mm-hmm. We know that here, in all of the training here, it's going to be Lynn, it's going to be Cyril, but that's 20 years of consistency. And when it comes to a student like Susan, who is here as a student, that consistency means a lot. You don't see the turnover. You don't see changes. You don't see turmoil. You see a good, steady, workable program. And that speaks volumes.
It does. It's a tremendous relief to be able to board at a place like this. I'm a full-time boarder here. And I've been in Ocala a little over 2 years. And my first year was kind of rough with finding a place for my horse. And then I kind of got in a real bind. I had met Marie Francis when I was exploring Western dressage and had gone to just watch a show. So in desperation, I picked up the phone and said, I'm in trouble. I have about a week. I need to find a place to board. I thought for sure there was no boarding here. And so I was just looking for
in the horse capital of the world.
I know. And I was just looking for, where do I go? And she goes, well, we board here. And I moved in, I think 2 days later, and that's a year and a half ago. And
boarding is so hard because there's so few barns that don't have drama. There's so few barns that aren't just a nightmare for whatever reason.
Right.
There's so many reasons it can be a nightmare. And so to hear you say that means a lot because it's not easy.
No.
Yeah.
It isn't at all. We were looking for a place here a couple of years ago. Pat and I were in Wisconsin, and boy, some of the places you would go to, you'd say, it just no. Sounded really good in the ad, but there's no way past that, right?
Right. That's right.
This place is just phenomenal.
Right. And, having decided that Western dressage was the direction I was going to go with my horse, I decided that before I moved here, but then to be boarding here and training here with the people that, how much closer could I get to the beginning of everything?
Well, you've got to tell us about your pony.
Oh, yeah. He'll be 10, in a few days. His name is Fitch. That's his barn name, mainly because I found him in Fitchburg, Wisconsin, where I was living, when I was living there in Madison. So.
What is he?
He's a quarter horse.
Quarter horse? Okay.
Yep. He was bred by Keith Moon up in Minnesota. Okay. And so when we moved down here, it was kind of an abrupt adjustment for both of us.
But a nice adjustment.
Well,
right?
we no longer had to deal with
Depends.
winter.
Did you move in August?
No, moved in January.
Oh, good.
Moved in
That's good.
January.
We don't
yes.
encourage anybody to move here in like July.
Exactly.
Definitely not.
Exactly. And so, we started, for about a year. I wasn't showing, anymore. I really didn't, I had acquaintances, but not really any friends. And, I've been kind of thinking about this, and my life in Ocala really started when I started boarding here. This is where I've met friends. I meet people who are here maybe just for the winter. I stay in touch with them all year long.
There's one thing about us horse people. We suck at making friends that aren't horsey, outside the horse world, don't we? We kind of do, because they don't understand us. So they don't want us as friends either. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
There's some stories about that. Yeah. I can't tell them right now. Go ahead.
But that's been really, I've met some really close friends. We show together. We lesson together. We play trivia once a week together at a, local, country club here. And it's really what started me feeling comfortable that I'd moved away from, home. So, and I lesson with Cyril about probably about once a week.
Is he tough? Does he get the whip out?
No,
okay.
no.
Exactly.
But, he doesn't.
I'm just kidding. Sarah.
Yeah. I gotta say, he's probably the best instructor I've had, in all my horse
and
life.
not just because he's sitting here listening?
No.
Okay, just checking.
No,
All right,
no.
all right.
And, he's not wicked tough, but he doesn't let you slack off either, and it truly is a journey. He's shown me that it's that journey. He's brought my horse and I a long ways just in the year that we've been lessoning with him. So it's a fantastic partnership, as they say, and they teach it extraordinarily well.
Very good.
I just have to say one thing about Susan. If I were going to have a boarder at Fox Grove Farm, exemplary. This is the kind of lady you want to have here, and it's been easy for us.
Having been on both sides of that, boy, that's so important too, because we had 20 boarders at one time, and boarders complain about the farm owners, but boy, that can go the other way because.
No, we've had a great relationship, and I think she can attest to the fact that even if Lynn and Cyril are traveling, I'm here. Curtis Williams is here. He's been our
He's been around a long time too, hasn't he?
Oh, well, he was here when we moved to the farm, so now that'll be 20
He came with the place, and you can't get rid of him.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, that's not a bad
thing.
thing.
With the first load of lumber, you can't get rid of them.
Yes,
that's just what it is. But no, but there again, see, when people all stay, it tells you how good the facility is.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh yeah, and my husband is still working. I was lucky enough that I got to retire, so we could make this move down here. And so Lynn and Cyril and Marie Francis and Curtis, they only see me Monday through Friday because this is what I do to keep myself busy and, amongst some other things. But
if you were a teenager, we'd call you a barn rat.
Yeah,
you know that, don't
exactly, you? Exactly. And, they rarely see me on the weekend because I'm off golfing with my husband on the weekend, or I reserve the weekends to be with him. So, we joke a lot too, but we're down here living the dream, in more ways than one.
Well, I'll tell you, this whole facility and the Ocala weather, you just can't.
Yeah, you came on a good day. It's been a couple good days since you've come down.
We were here in February when it was freezing.
Yeah, it can get chilly here in the winter. People don't realize that Ocala can get chilly. When you get below Orlando, it's about 10 degrees difference when you get down to Wellington or Sarasota.
Yeah, because here we're, what is it, about 45, 50 miles north of Orlando?
Yeah, we kind of get the weather either from the Gulf or the ocean too. We can get it. We're right in the middle, so we kind of get it from both sides when the weather comes in either direction. But I always tell people I'll sacrifice the 3 months that it's just bloody hot and humid for the 9 months that it's perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So-
And the 2 days of cold weather.
Exactly. You know,
2
one thing
days,
is
right?
it might be 30 in the morning, but it's 60 by noon. So,
Right.
I'll
That's
take
right.
that.
That's a good cold winter.
And it
thing.
only snows once, every 10 years or so. So, what is the one thing we're in the year of the listener here, Wayne, at the Horse Radio Network. So we're really celebrating listeners. We're getting them on the shows all the time, and we're doing interviews with them. And one question I ask, and Marie Francis, I would like to hear you answer this. What's your biggest equestrian pet peeve?
Oh my goodness. A pet peeve. I think that the horse always comes first, whether that means he's fed first, he has water, he's bedded down, he has a blanket. I'll do all the care of the horse first before myself. And often I see folks that are maybe a little detached from the relationship, and it's, I got to get to the hotel. I'm so tired. And that horse may have an empty bucket that's banging in the stall. And I see it more traveling than here, not so much folks that come here to the farm because
I didn't necessarily mean here, but I meant in general.
Yep, just in general. I think that's the thing. People that don't spend enough time with their horses, and then they want to complain that it's not going as well as they would like. So I think time is the biggest thing.
Susan, I'd be interested to hear what that you see as your biggest equestrian pet peeve.
What really, really bothers me is when you see a rider who, for some reason, something hasn't gone right, but they immediately, it's the horse's fault, and they take it out on the horse. That really bothers me to see that. I can have something that doesn't go well, but more than not, it's probably because I didn't do something right.
90% chance you didn't.
Yes.
Right.
I always call it operator error.
Yeah.
So it's operator error on my part. Stop, regroup, but it certainly isn't the horse's fault.
That's a good one, actually. That's excellent.
Yep.
Generally, it is not the horse's fault. In almost all cases, there are a few times maybe it is, but in almost all cases, it's not. It's some miscommunication. It's pilot error. In most cases.
I got to ask Wayne that question. You've announced at 1 million horse shows, okay, all across this country, all different kinds of horse shows. I saw you at the WAG. You were at the WAG doing announcing. That's where we met the first time.
Right.
Actually, was at the WAG in Lexington. So, what's your biggest equestrian pet peeve? You've seen it all.
Well, it sort of centers around what Marie said, but it's the guy that shows up at the gate, piles on the horse because somebody else got the horse ready. Somebody else did all the stuff, piles on the horse, goes in the arena. It doesn't work well, and he cannot figure out who to blame.
Yeah.
I've seen it 1 million times. And in the entertainment side of it, when we're doing like evening shows, the people that are going to put on a good show have been working with their horse through the day and all that. You can't just pull them out of the stall, take them in, and do it. It's the person that doesn't spend the time. They just go and they pile on and say, he'll be fine. I'm guilty of that myself. Okay. I have done that myself with my own horse. He'll be fine, But when you watch them and it's an evening show and it's their chance they're not showing their horse, they're showing off their horse and they're showing off their abilities. And I wonder why they didn't take a little bit more time to prepare. Why did they just expect it to happen? Because they had a top trainer. They had this, At some of the horse shows, you see the trainer of the horse go in the open division and win all kinds of stuff. And then the amateur owner, they get on and they get the gate, okay? And they don't understand, but they don't spend any time with the horse. The trainer does it all. He's got the relationship, okay?
I had dinner last week with I won't mention who, but a top-level eventer who was still here before they headed back. And that was one of this, I won't even say male or female, that was one of this person's biggest complaints about modern sport is that there's less and less of the professional riders that have truly developed a relationship like Lynn had with a few horses there through the years. that truly have developed a special relationship with that horse, or any relationship with that horse. They get on, they jump, they get off. They get on, they ride, they get off. And that's the last time they see that horse, so they get on and ride again in competition.
Right.
So there's no relationship there. Now, that happens a little more in some disciplines than others. You can't get away with that in some disciplines. But I'm not sure it's good for the sport either. That relationship is what the true partnerships, the true partnerships that we've seen, including Lynn, through the years.
Well, I have to comment on this because I was at a horse expo a few years ago, and I forget who was there. Gentleman was commenting at a round table, but he was a dressage instructor. And one of the questions from the audience was, well, I know it takes all these years, this level, moving up through the ranks in dressage, but how could I go from here to here? In other words, how could I circumvent, okay, or skip steps to get there quicker? Yep. And he just gritted his teeth, and he says, always in America, you want it tomorrow, okay? He says, you can't have it tomorrow. Was he German? He was, I'm not sure if he was German, but you know where I'm going.
I know exactly.
I do a very bad accent, but I will tell you.
He's either German or Dutch.
He was saying, you want it tomorrow. You can't have it tomorrow. But he said, always in America, you want to figure out how to speed up the process. And he said, if you want this right, you cannot speed up this process. And if you don't believe that, you're not my student. And that was it. But that's the whole thing. If you want to do it correctly and follow all those steps, I'll help you. But if you're trying to circumvent or find shortcuts, it's not going to happen.
Well, let's take a break at that. I'd love to bring those other two back into the conversation because this is a good point to bring them back into the conversation.
And we thank you guys,
thank
Marie
you.
and
Thanks
Karen,
for having
very
us.
much.
Well, Total Saddle Fit has the cinch that you've been looking for your Western dressage saddle. The shoulder relief cinch actually changes the position and angle of the billets to prevent the saddle tree from interfering with the shoulder. The center of the cinch is set forward to sit in the horse's natural girth groove, while the sides of the cinch are cut back to meet the billets 2 inches behind where the horse's natural girth groove lies. This brings the latigos from angling forward to becoming perpendicular to the ground, which reduces the saddle's tendency to be pulled forward into the shoulders. With horses that have shoulder interference without angled billets, it simply moves the billets back to keep the saddle further away from the shoulders. The secondary benefit to this shape is the cutback at the elbows. This gives more room for elbow movement as well and prevents galls in the elbow area. You can find the shoulder relief cinch at TotalSaddleFit.com. That's TotalSaddleFit.com. So you guys were hearing the conversation we just had about pet peeves and about professional riders now really getting on for 10 minutes at a time and not developing that really bond and relationship with the horse. Lynn, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, I have to tell you about my first mentor who was just an incredible equestrian and trainer. And she always told me as a young person and wanting to train horses, she always would tell me the longer you take to train a horse, the longer he'll last. The shorter you take to train a horse, it takes you to train a horse, the shorter they're going to last because you are skipping lots of spots. So, it's
but in a way they don't care because they're going through horses left and right. They're just piling they got 80 in the barn. So if they last for 3 or 4 years, they're on to the next 70.
Exactly.
Right.
And always the longevity of the horse and developing the older horse to last long. That's always been instilled in me as someone that is a passionate trainer because they're always looking out for the best interest in the horse. They're not looking for the short-term horse. And you see, as you said, that in any discipline today, you see it in life. People want things in a hurry and it's okay to dispose that and do it and get another one or do it again.
So Sarah, I got to ask you, do you think the more money that's become involved in especially that you were in jumpers in France, jumpers especially,
yes.
Is that one of the contributing factors? They got to pump out those horses.
I mean, you hit it perfectly right. I think it has become such a huge business and numbers, riding horses. There's so many horse shows. when I used to show heavily the hunters and the jumpers, but especially the jumpers in France, you showed from March 15th to November 15th. From November 15th to March 15th, no horse shows. And this was absolutely wonderful because you could rest your horses. You could work on basics.
They actually got turned out.
They get turned out. You can refresh. You can start over. And now you can literally have to show, if your livelihood is to show horses, you literally have to show from January 1st to December 31st. And you have so many horses or horse shows all over the country and you have no choice. So I think it's only a contributing factor of making it a business, and forgetting a little bit about the art and about the pleasure of riding and the pleasure of bringing the best out of horses. And I want to mention Carol Harris, for instance, is adamant about that. One of the reasons of the success of Rugged Lark and Lynn is because she never wanted to show the horse too much. Always.
Well, and that was a very long-term relationship.
Yeah,
16 years.
16 years.
Yeah, but a short show career because he won so much.
Right.
But again, he just
got bored of winning everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but careful training to where the horse was confident in what he was doing and he wasn't pushed in any way. But he was just a unique, very smart horse, but unique horse that he retained his lessons and he was very willing. So you put all that together, made him unique in a lot of ways to have a short show career. But what he went on 10 years after to do exhibitions from the Olympics to Madison Square Gardens twice and everywhere that he did go. Even today, I'm showing or entertained for the first time in Indianapolis, the last owned son of Rugged Lark for the first time in a Make-A-Wish Foundation. It was an evening thing of the Indiana Hoosier Horse Fair.
Right.
And, the people remember that horse. They don't forget him. You know, it was the beginning of my introduction. Do you remember he was talking like it was the horse talking. His name is Lark's Home Run. And do you remember my dad, Rugged Lark? I mean, the crowd went crazy. They all remembered him. And that's longevity training right there.
And I'm going to go from the other side, too. There are the exceptions out there now. The Charlotte Desjardins of Allegros, who, truly does train that horse and has the relationship and the bond and really wants to be with that horse forever.
Absolutely.
So I think there are exceptions to that out there.
Yep.
I don't know. So where's the future of the sport?
I just think that you have no choice to reach the highest level of your discipline of your sport. You have to spend time with your horse.
Yeah.
You have to train your horse. That will not work.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so short term.
We had the opportunity, Len and I, to spend a week with Charlotte in Australia.
Yes, in Australia.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Oh, how cool was that?
Very. Amazing.
Is she as just as sweet off air as she is?
Sweet and humble and not a dressage queen in any way.
She has a wicked sense of humor.
Does she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very British.
She calls her horse Blueberry. So that tells you a thing or two.
Right.
And it was absolutely wonderful to be with this world.
Was Carl there or was it just Charlotte at that point?
No, just Charlotte.
Just Charlotte, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were saying, she was really, really wanting to know everything about a horse.
Yep.
And know all his habits, behavior, temperament, in order to get the most out of a horse when she has to ride him. Yeah. And when you were asking the ladies before what their pet peeve was, mine pet peeve is when I see those kids in particular that are lifted on top of the horse at the gate. They ride the horse, they come out of the ring, they go down, no contact with the horse. I really don't think you can ride well and establish a partnership with your horse if you don't establish a partnership with your horse beside riding.
Right. And the problem is when you see kids doing it,
yes,
they're never going to learn how to do it properly.
No.
Ever. Mm-hmm. You know, I've even seen this creeping into 4-H a few places. Mm-hmm. 4-H used to be strictly about the kids coming in, doing their horse, doing, all of this had to be the kid.
Absolutely.
Okay? And there are now 4-H kids that grooms are going with them.
Yes.
I mean, so the 4-H kid doesn't even have to clean up in front of their stall in the barn for the rest of the judging of 4-H horse and pony projects. So it's out of control in a way.
Yes.
because that's where you.
No, the pony clubbers still have to muck their own stalls.
Yes, they do. See, that's the good heart of the event.
But that's where the kids. That's where the kids need to be out in that show ring, regardless of whether they have a silver show saddle or just a plain leather saddle, and taking care of their horse and learning all the basics. The rest will come as you reach whatever level you're going to.
Part of what we do on Horses in the Morning is some of the fun stuff of covering the celebrities that are in jumping, especially now, the billionaire kids, right? Sure. And I won't say which one, but it just made me so angry, actually. And I brought it up in the show, and I didn't get the same reception from everybody else that I thought I was going to get. She said in an article, they asked her, are you going to have a farm and ride after your riding career is over, your professional riding career? And she said, no, I only ride horses to compete. I don't really care about horses all that much. I won't own horses after. It was just for the competition. And for me, that just pissed me off. Yeah. And I didn't, other people didn't get pissed off as much as I did. But I don't think that's my idea of what a true partnership and a relationship and a love of horses is.
Right. Nor does she know how magical horses are in so many ways and can appreciate that. Sure.
But then she probably doesn't care about much else either. She doesn't have to.
See, what they're looking for is all the stuff that surrounds that horse community, not necessarily the horse at all.
Yeah. In the jumper world, it's become kind of a social thing. All the billionaire kids are jumping now.
Yes, of course.
Oh yeah,
but I think the top riders are all horsemen, just a generic term, because really it's impossible to succeed without knowing your horse.
Right.
And because you have to trust your horse, and your horse has to trust you, and you cannot achieve that by just being put on a horse and then just ride.
You're exactly right.
And usually the great ones are great horsemen,
and that's why they rise to the top.
Exactly, absolutely.
All right, you have to ask my pet peeve.
All right, your pet. Oh, we got to know your pet peeve.
All right, it comes back to the Western world. Yeah, it comes back to the Western world, and it is the rapport and starts with the kids that they see the adults do and the professionals do, is riding with harsh methods, riding with a lot of jerking of the reins, severe bits, spurs that they should never have on, and have no idea why they're doing it or what they're doing. And all I see is sad horses, and you see that in the stock horse breeds. And I hope the influence of the Western versatility ranch riding horses, which is growing tremendously, and Western dressage will help these people learn to appreciate the horse, that you can accomplish whatever you want to achieve with a horse and not have to ride him in harsh ways.
Are you surprised? I got to think about how I want to word this. The Horsemanship Radio show we have on the Horse Radio Network is Monty Roberts' daughter. So, Monty's probably been around still around the longest of almost all of them now. Yeah. And of course, believes in the exact opposite of what you were just talking about. And there's been so many like you, and along the way, there's been so many others that are really talking about that. Are you surprised that we're still even discussing that 40 years later?
It really saddens me. It really does. That, and I do still see some moves of improvement and good influences, like I said, of these other Western disciplines.
But these people these are the same people that go to the clinics at expos and then go home and do that.
I know.
When they're learning just the opposite from you and Monty and everybody else at a clinic.
I know.
Go ahead.
See, here's where you go. You go back to the high schoolers, the 16, 17, 18-year-old, especially let's start with the boys. Because they have a mystique about, I'm going to go ride Western. I'm going to ride working cow. I'm going to ride speed. I'm going to do something. Okay. And this attire and spurs and all this, they want to be seen wearing the spurs into the restaurant at night.
And clinging.
The clinging. Yeah. They want that. That's part of the
they
attire.
Want the girls. That's part of it. Yeah.
It's the mystique. So what they're doing is they're not doing what it takes to work with a horse. They're doing what it takes to fill the bill and meet the mystique. They couldn't even tell you why they have a certain rowel or not a rowel or what on the spur. They couldn't tell you anything about that other than, well, if you're a cowboy, you're supposed to wear it. That's cool. That's right. And that's what once again, it's not about following what's good for the horse. It's about following all that stuff that surrounds the horse.
Because the people that accept those methods, they don't care about the horse. That has nothing to do with the horse. we have a lot of people coming from this part of the industry where harsh methods are common, because they realize very quickly that this is not what they want to do.
Right.
Because they love their horses.
Yep.
Because they want to learn to ride and get skills instead of getting results from submission and from force and from everything else.
And also they're not really getting results.
And they're not, and ultimately in a long term, it doesn't work at all. It absolutely doesn't work. So everybody that's in that sport for the love of horses, they don't last very long with this type of training, of this type of riding. And the stock breed shows, have lost a lot of people because of that.
And that's why I said at the beginning, people that we attract, which we love, are people that have a passion for the horse.
Absolutely.
And if you don't recognize how magical they are, I mean, from so many facets from rehabilitation and handicap people to helping people now emotionally and the
PSTD,
wounded
yes,
warriors to teaching children when they have good influences of the right parents that are saying, okay, if you want a horse, you got to learn what responsibility is. As simple as that. You got to take care of it. You know, and it teaches such good wealth. So it's those that recognize how magical, I love to use that word because horses really are. They have so much to give in so many different ways. And the more people discover that, they want to ride well. They want to be good owners for their horses. Yes. And that's where you can meet people at those expos, and they come to educational programs to build a good success with what they have with their horses.
Well, and you know, when you say magical, you can take the worst day in the world. You can have the worst day in the world.
I know. You go cry on that shoulder.
Then you can go in, get your horse, and this is what my wife says all the time. Worst day in the world, come in, put on the blue jeans and a T-shirt, go to the barn. And even if you don't get on the horse, just be around the horse. You know, play around with the horse. It takes a few minutes, and that worst day in the world is gone.
Yep. That's right.
And they can bring that to you without even riding.
That's very true.
True.
Well, we've solved all the problems of the horse world here. I'm glad you came down, Wayne.
Yeah, now we got to move on to the political elections.
Yeah, then we'll do elections next.
No.
Give out the website. Where can people find you guys?
Hey, easy. LynnPalm.com. That's our main website. We do have other ones, goes along with that, but that's the main one. And
Facebook?
Oh yeah. Got it.
Is that Lynn Palm, or, is that Palm Horsemanship Training on Facebook?
Partnership Training.
Palm Partnership Training.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. On Facebook. That's what okay. I knew it was a little different, so I wanted to make sure they found it. Well, thank you so much for entertaining us.
Oh, it's been fun for us.
Thank you very much.
And we welcome anybody to come and visit us. Our gates are always open.
Well, Wayne, where can my audience find your stuff?
Speakingofhorses.com. And we are going to air the TV side there in conjunction with the time frame when you air the radio side of this simulcast. And then we'll also archive it so people can come back and watch it.
Well, that's awesome.
You know, at a later date. So,
and we can be found at horsesinthemorning.com is where you can go to take a listen to that too.